Yeah, so welcome back. In this video, we'll talk about graphs. And the way I'll be covering graph in this particular video is that it would be covered in context with your data structures, and it would be covered in context with anything and everything related to computer science. So when we talk about graph, this is nothing but an abstract data structure. And what is abstract data structure? I don't need to throw any light on this. And the purpose is to implement the mathematical concepts. It is basically a collection of vertices or nodes. It can be of any format. We will talk about those things in the coming slides. And these edges, these are the edges which are connecting these vertices or nodes. These are vertices / nodes. We'll formally cover in our upcoming slides. I'm just giving you a brief idea. So a graph is often viewed as a generalization of a tree. And instead of having a purely parent to child relationship, rest everything remains the same. Right, so let's formally talk about graph. So it is something which consists of set of nodes, and these nodes are also called as your vertices, and set of edges. Plus these edges are connecting our nodes. So these edges, these are the edges, these are the nodes, and this edge is connecting these n1 and n2 nodes. Sometimes you will find this n1 and n2 written inside this. Now the question arises, why basically graph, right? So this is something which is widely used structure for abstraction, and most commonly used for structures for testing as well. This also helps in representing a particular model or a scheme, and since it's like we know that it only consists of nodes and edges, so it is something which is well defined as structure as well. We have tons of usage of graphs, right? From algorithm representation to the neural networks, the latest ones, to the transportation network, to the spatial network, to the molecular structures, to the graphical modeling, and so on and so forth. Now, this is a generic formal description of a graph. So, where we have 4 tuples, G equals to this, n, n0, nf, and e, where n stands for set of nodes, n0 stands for set of initial nodes, nf stands for set of final nodes, and e stands for edges. And in the literatures, you will find this G is defined as V, E, where V stands for vertices, and your E stands for edges. Right, so don't get confused if this kind of representation is used, and don't get confused if somewhere this kind of representation is used. So let's see some diagrams. Right, so in this, what we have is we have capital N, which is the set of nodes, that would be your n0, your n1, n2, and n3. Then what we have is we have n0, which is set of initial nodes, so it's singleton set, which is this, and then we have nf, which is set of final nodes. In this, it is n3. The last one is E, which is the set of edges, and it can be named in several ways. Either you write in a form of n0, n1, n0, n2, n1, n3, n2, n3, or else simply you give it these names A, B, C, D. So your E becomes A, B, C, D, and you're good to go. So this is one of the simplest possible examples, and in your course most of the time your graph will be, you'll not find this entry edge and the exit edge. Now this is something which is looking much more bigger than what we saw. So in this case, for n it would be all your 3, 4, 7, 10 edges, vertices or the nodes, but for n0, which is your initial set of entry nodes, this would be the set. For nf, which is final set of nodes, this will be the same, and rest everything remains the same. Now there are some basic terms. Let's see these what these terms are. This is something which is called as path, then you have subpath, then length, we have test path, we have reachability, we have visiting, we have touring, then we have like out degree, and then we have like in degree, and then we have like isolated vertex and pendant vertex. So we will see some basic common terms with this. Yeah, so in this particular thing, first of all, this is something which is your directed graph. And all the examples which we are taking here are directed graphs. So we have two categories. One is directed, one is non-directed graphs, or maybe undirected graphs. So in that case, what we have is you don't see these arrows. In case of directed, we see these arrows. So this is path. Path is like what we have between two nodes, which is here. n0 is here. I have n6. So this is my entire path in this case. This is a path in a graph. Now next is your subpath in a graph. So of course we got to know that there is something called as path in a graph. So there will be something which will be a subset. So maybe I am taking this much only, right? This much only. So that would be your subpath. Now next is your length in a graph. Length will be like counting all your edges from one node to another and adding it. So it would be like length equals to 5. That too in between this n0 to n6. There is like, as you can see, there is series of edges in between these nodes. Now next is your test path. That means the particular path which we are considering. You don't need to go into deep at this moment of time. Now next is your reach and reachability, right? So if there exists a path between, let's say, a node n0, which is here, to n2, which is here, so then we say that okay, there is a reach and the reachability exists. So if we carefully see from the directed graph that yes, there exists a path from a node n0 to node n2. So there is a reach and the reachability exists. Now next is visiting. Visiting means it's a kind of traversal only. That means visiting the number of nodes. So in this particular path we are visiting n0, then n4, then n8, then n5, then n9, and then n6. So we are visiting n0, n4, n8, n5, n9, and your n6. So we are visiting all these things. Now next is your touring. Touring means yes, we are taking a path, we are making a tour, nothing else. Now next is your single entry and single exit graph. So what we do is, here it is this particular term is also called as SEAC graph. So in that case, your N0 and NF will be the singleton. So here single entry is there, and here it will be a single exit. So this forms a single entry, single exit graph. Now the next portion which I am going to tell you is, we give you some brief idea between the graphs and your codes, and this part is something which is very interesting. So now we are going to talk about control flow graphs. So control flow graphs are your program graphs that represent the control flow of programs, are widely used in analysis of softwares, or maybe even in case of your programs as well. You'll see how these are made and how these are used. These are also known as decision to decision graphs or DD graphs. Your nodes of a control flow graph are statements of the program, and the edges represents the control flow. So we have like nodes, we have edges. So one is talking about control flow, and making use of this we are getting the control flow graphs. These are some of these terms, like nodes we know by this time, edges we know. Decision node is like we have a node and there will be multiple exit points. So this will be your decision node. Junction node is like more than one arrow will be entering, so that would be your junction node. And the region is like area within it. Right. So this was all about this. Let's talk about flow graph notation. So this is something which is a sequence, right? This is something which is a sequence. And in case of if then else, if suppose I have something like this, that means I have if I have some condition, and then I have a statement 1, then else I have a statement 2. So what I'll do is, these are the line numbers. So if condition lies here, so the chance are either I'll move to second line, or the chances I'll move to else part. So I'll go to third and then fourth, and then whatever happens we don't need to take care of, right? Either from 1, either I'll go to 2, or I'll go to 3 and 4 and then exit. So this particular portion can also be drawn as two separate nodes, but that won't give you any impact because code remains as it is. So from here I am going to 3, from 3 I am going to 4, and 4 once again I am entering to this one. So it's almost the same. So if then else represented by this kind of control flow graph. Next is your do while. So I am writing this do, then some function, and then while condition. So from first I may go to 2, and from 3 till the time this condition holds true, I will once again go to part 1, node 1. When it holds false, then I will make an exit. False and true. Right, so this goes on and on. This is about do while. So next will be your while, and in this case what we have is, we have a while condition, and then we have a condition. So statement. So what we do is, we have one which is for while condition. So this, if this holds true, if this holds true, then only I'll enter into this, right? Or else, and from here I'll go back to this. Once again I have to hold true. When if suppose I'm finding it to be false, I'll make an exit. That's how your while works. In case of switch, it is very easy. Like from 1, either I have to go to 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 and so on and so forth, and then make an exit, right? Default make an exit. So for your ease, I have given there is a for statement, then I have line number 2, then there are some more statements, then within this I have one if, I have one else. So I started from here, I entered into this thing, because there is a loop, I entered into second, from third, the chances are I'll go to sorry, what I've done is second and third are combined into one, because once I've entered here, I'll go to this part as well, right? So from third, either I'll go to 4 or I'll make an exit. I'll go for else, and from seventh, I'll be keep on going to this. So that particular part is represented by this. So this is your code, and this is the associated control flow graph. So that's how your graph works. In the next video, we'll talk about some more terminologies, and then we'll see the more usage of these things in the upcoming video.